Hi, welcome to Being Mindful. I'm Susan, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor. And this channel is all about mindfulness meditation. If you're not already subscribed, I hope that you'll do that. And, we cover lots of topics here. Today, what we're looking at is stress relief. And we all want to be relieved from stress, but of course, it is a reality and everyone experiences it. In today's meditation, we allow ourselves to explore the kinds of things that make us feel stress, notice the impact that has on our bodies, and allow things to be the way they are because we usually can't change them. But in that space that we create, perhaps we can find ways to behave and act that will bring some benefit to us. So let's get started. And let's take a few moments to acknowledge that we are in the midst of busy times, and there are things that need to be done that call our attention, and they will call our attention as we meditate as well. But for this time, we're setting aside a few minutes to focus on what's happening in the present moment. Those thoughts will swirl, but we're going to let them swirl instead of right here in front of our faces. We're going to let them swirl back here somewhere. So we won't try to make them go away, but we will see what we can do to make them less impactful and to keep them from preventing us from taking actions that we know are important. So I'll invite you to close your eyes if that is comfortable for you. It's also fine to hold a light gaze in front of you. And let's begin with a little bit of movement. So many of us spend our times in tense bodies, in positions that we hold for a long time, especially those of us with desk jobs, if we don't have a standing desk. And our muscles can become fixed in some ways and unused. So let's just take a few minutes to move in whatever way would feel good to the body. And as you decide what sort of meditation posture you want to be in today, you can stand, you can sit in a chair, you can lie on a bed or the floor. There's no right or wrong way of being positioned. But just be intentional about it. Choose a position and move into it. Notice where the body is in contact with the floor or a piece of furniture. Not just cognitively noticing, but really feeling where the body can sense pressure or contact. And let's visit some parts of the body where we tend to hold tension and see if there's a way to allow those areas to be released or softened. The muscles in the face, perhaps a clenched jaw, allowing allowing the jaw to just come to neutral, to allow the teeth to separate just a little bit, and the tongue to rest in the mouth. Noticing the neck and the shoulders, and allowing those to drop, to sense a softening and a releasing of those muscles so that gravity can pull them down or back depending on how you are postured. And notice the hands. Intentionally positioning them in whatever way feels right. Noticing the abdomen. And seeing if you can let go of holding the muscles in the abdomen. Noticing the legs and the feet and the positions that they hold, allowing them to be supported and to just naturally be without feeling like they have to be held in a certain way, engaging muscles to hold them in a certain place. Feeling grounded and anchored in this moment. Allowing sensation and sound to bring us to the present, which is the only place we have the ability to take action or not. We can learn lessons from the past, and we can set intentions for the future, but it is in the present that we live and exist. Let's allow the mind to explore the kinds of things that tend to make us feel stress. If we want relief from stress, it may help to allow whatever brings the stress to become the focus of our attention for a little while. And for every person, the sources of stress are a little bit different, even though they may share some aspects in common. For those of us who work or go to school, there are deadlines. Some of those deadlines may be self-imposed. Some of them are imposed by others, but they create pressure. So when we look at our to-do lists, the things that are on our plate that require our action. There may be some have-to-dos, those imposed by others, projects and teachers. And there may be ought-to-dos, the things that we feel like we should be doing. Some of those are things that would benefit us if we could squeeze in the time to do them. And some of them are other people's priorities. And then hopefully there are some get-to-dos, things that you enjoy doing that maybe get pushed aside when something else feels like it takes a higher priority. So for those with looming to-do lists, you might play around with how your responsibilities and tasks fall into those categories, or categories of your choosing. And perhaps our stress comes from personal relationships that aren't where we want them to be, or difficult financial situations, or health concerns. Or something in your heart that I'm not naming but brings stress to you. So in the same way that we took a look at a to-do list and examined it with a little bit of dispassion, we can acknowledge that there are these circumstances in our lives that feel stressful, and that's hard. As you allow your focus and your mind to rest on aspects of your life that cause stress, notice what's happening in the body. When we feel stress, it changes the balance of hormones in our body. And there are aspects of our brain that come into action to help protect us against a perceived threat. And so take a look at the body and see if any tension has crept in. If the heart has changed the rate at which it is beating. If the pace of the breath has changed. if there's clenching or tensing. Or change in the temperature of the body. And approaching any changes that we notice with some curiosity and compassion. These reactions are not a problem. They're natural. And they are meant to be helpful, to prepare us. Sometimes we're preparing ourselves for a battle that's not going to happen. But if we can hold these situations with some openness and not try to push them away or wish that things were other than how they are, we can be with what is, just as it is, just as it is not. We create a little clearing around these situations, a little space, a little buffer. We slow things down. And from this place of clarity and self-compassion, perhaps the next right step will come to us. And that we choose this action in the present moment with some intention. Fast isn't always better. So in this space that we've created, noticing once again what's happening in the body, and in this present moment, allowing sensation and sound to ground us. Allowing the eyes to open, the gaze to lift. Acclimating ourselves to the spaces that we occupy. And preparing to reflect on this time before we re-enter those lives that sometimes bring us stress. And entering them with intention. We've reached that time in the meditation where we have an opportunity to pause and reflect before we go back to whatever it is we were doing before we started meditating. When I lead these sessions live, the participants get to share with each other what they noticed, what they experienced. And after a recorded session, we also have the chance to reflect for ourselves privately, but also to maybe put in the chat what we noticed to share with others. writing that out may help make it more memorable for you. If you're not already subscribed, I hope that you'll take a moment to do that and leave the video a thumbs up if it was helpful to you. And here at the end, I will be sure to leave some additional videos that you might find helpful. Thanks, and have a good day.